And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have. When the schools suggested like the herding systems,
you know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite.
Ancient is there. That's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
but
all that he said.
No, we don't have.
So many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain?
I don't believe that the Jewish state and modern Zionism would have been possible without Christian Zionism. Christian Zionism. Christian Zionism. The Jewish state and modern Zionism would have been possible without Christian Zionism. I think that the many Christian supporters of the rebirth of the Jewish state and the ingathering of the Jewish people in the 19th century made possible the rise of Jewish Zionism.
I'm delighted to present my latest book, In Defense of Israel. This book will expose the sins of the fathers and the vicious abuse of the Jewish people. In Defense of Israel will shake Christian theology. It scripturally proves that the Jewish people as a whole did not reject Jesus as Messiah. It will also prove that Jesus did not come to earth to be the Messiah. Jesus did not come to earth to be the Messiah. Jesus did not come to earth to be the Messiah. It will prove that there was a Calvary conspiracy between Rome, the high priest, and Herod to execute Jesus as an insurrectionist too dangerous to live. Since Jesus refused by word and deed to claim to be the Messiah, how can the Jews be blamed for rejecting what was never offered? Read it in this shocking expose in Defense of Israel.
Were I a Jew, I would be a Zionist. And my father pointed out to me, I did not need to be a Jew to be a Zionist, for I am. Israel is essential to the security of Jews worldwide.
It's no surprise that Iran, Persia has risen up again in the spirit of Haman, which is the spirit of Amalek, is alive today in the world, coming after the Jewish people. They wanted to wipe out every Jewish man, woman, and child, and that's exactly the same spirit that we see going on with Hamas in Iran today.
The country is absolutely united.
It's really unfathomable. And 600, I hope everyone understands, 600 fatalities in Israel, 600 fatalities in Israel, 600 fatalities in Israel. It's really unfathomable. And 600, I hope everyone understands, 600 fatalities in Israel proportionally is like having here 20,000 American fatalities. 20,000 people who are being butchered, massacred by these savage terrorists. It's our 9/11.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
So, a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now emigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Japhet is a myth, 100% false.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. Hope and pray that you guys had a blessed weekend. Hope and pray that you guys had a great Shabbat and had a great Shabbat. Enjoyed my time up in Philadelphia. Was in Philadelphia since Thursday. And want to say shout outs to all those that press, that follow and support what we do here on We Woke Now, as well as We Woke Now Extended. So I want to thank you guys for pressing out, and I will make it a point to give you guys more of a heads up notice for us in terms of locations that I'm going to go travel to. So that way, if you guys want to support, and we can also use that opportunity sort of as a meet and greet. I'll make sure that you guys have more than enough time to prepare. But I want to do a brief lesson tonight. And I have more that I'm going to teach on this subject probably this Thursday or Friday. But just want to briefly at least touch bases with you guys just on this thought for tonight, how liars are created. And before I get into the lesson, the brief lesson, we're not going to be long tonight. But before I get into that, I see a question. How was the Philly cheesesteak? Yeah, I went to a place called Max's, and it was great. It was great. Max's was great, right? I had to eat me a couple of those cheesesteaks. I mean, you know, it's been a while since I've been in the area, but it was great. It was great. So before I get into this, my cousin Benaiah Israel did a video, quick live breaking news of protests, Palestinian protests out of Chicago. And from what I understand, Israelites were involved in some of that, as far as the physicality of it. So if you guys have any links to it, feel free to send me the link that you have. That way I can take a look at it, because I've been out of the loop for the past few days. And that way I can take a look at it and I can get the word out on that. But I want to say this as a disclaimer. Family, be careful. Be careful. And let's be sensitive, especially when you go into these rallies of other people. Let's be sensitive. And what I mean by that is, doesn't mean that you're supporting one side or another, but we have to be careful on what we say or do at their rallies. And I know many of our brothers and sisters will use opportunities in terms of rallies, gatherings like that to use it as an opportunity to minister. But we have to be careful in doing so. Because again, that's their struggle. That's their fight. Be careful on what you say and what you do. Now, I've gone to rallies in regards to our community, but I'm not going to rallies in regards to other people's fights, because you never know what can happen, especially when you know the history of many of those within those communities, how they feel about us, anything but the Negro. We know that there's Negro Palestinians. We know that there are Black Jews per se, but we still have to be careful in using wisdom. Using wisdom and not disguising evangelism under the guise of opportunity, or should I say disguising opportunity under the label of evangelism. So I want to put that disclaimer out there again. If you guys have the link, drop it in the comment section inside the chat, as well as the comment section of the video. And that way I can take a look at it and I will, peep it out and do some commentary off that. So again, family, use wisdom. Use wisdom. I'll say it again. Use wisdom. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I lived in other big cities. And some of the worst situations that I've witnessed is interfering in within someone else's fight. And I want to say shout outs to my buddy Apostle Curtis. And Apostle Curtis, I definitely will be hitting you up tomorrow. I've been out of contact for a few days. As a matter of fact, I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section. So if you want to jump on and definitely test out to see if it's working, let me drop it in here. Family, show some love for my buddy here, Pastor Apostle Curtis, doing a great work down in Louisiana, in Texas. Actually, he started an assembly out in Houston. So let's show some love to Elder here. So I'm dropping the link here so that way you can test it out, Apostle, to see if you have any issues. But again, family, use wisdom. I want to reiterate that. Use wisdom. Use wisdom. Because I know if I'm dealing with some situations with my people, I don't want to hear what everyone else has to say about my people. So we have to take in consideration that many are going to feel the same way about about their plight. So let's be considerate. Again, let's not take the word evangelism and disguise it, or should I say opportunity, and disguise it under the label of evangelism. The Most High did not call us to do that. All right. The Messiah didn't get into other people's fights in terms of other nations' fights. So anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. So again, be careful, family. If you have the links, send it to me or drop it inside the chat. Drop it inside the comment section as well, because sometimes the chat can be quirky. All right. So I want to touch on this subject real quick, and we're going to do a full subject on this family. We're going to do a full all-out subject or discussion on this topic: how liars are created. How liars are created. And I tell you, we had a powerful kickoff Friday night, or should I say Shabbat night, out in Philadelphia. And I want to give shout outs to Pastor Bruno, Apostle Cherry, for the warm welcoming, welcome that the hospitality for me and my wife. So it was great, family. And we woke now. I really appreciate some of you guys that pressed out there as well. So we had a great time. So this is a thought that really came to me, right? Literally, probably about 30 minutes before doing the lesson. And so I started adjusting the presentation as I got ready to do it prior to me doing it. So a lot of my messages is not me working on them for weeks at a time. Most cases, I don't do my messages until either the night before or I'm literally on my way, because or there on the spot, because I want to feel out where everyone is. I want to feel out the spirit of just where we are. So, and then I adjust. And some of you guys have witnessed it in some of my videos that I've adjusted on the fly. So with that being said, family, let's go and get into it. How liars are created. And this is I tell you, this is something that we have to really, really pay attention to. How liars are created. I know I talk, I bring this thought up a number of times in terms of, some of the information I'm going to share, son of perdition and so forth. But we're going to take it a step further here in the discussion tonight. So how liars are created. Let me say that again. How liars are created. I'll say it one more time. How liars are created is the topic for tonight. So let's start with this here. Actually, did I put the right one up here? I don't want to deal with this right here. Let me make sure I got the right one, because that question should not be there. Yeah, let me take that out. That question shouldn't be there. All right. How liars create the illusion of truth. So our thought for today is, or for tonight, the big lie. How liars are created, the big lie. And I'm not sure if you guys heard that term or that, as far as that phrase, the big lie. But we're going to touch on it briefly here to set up what we're going to discuss tonight. How liars create the illusion of truth. Let me say it one more time. How liars create the illusion of truth. All right. This is coming from an article that was published on BBC.com. How liars create the illusion of truth. I'm sure you heard the saying, you repeat a lie a number of times, you keep repeating that lie over and over again, people will eventually believe that it is true. So that's dealing with repetition, the illusion of truth. You keep saying the lie over and over again, eventually people are going to believe that it's true. And we've witnessed so many lies that have been rehearsed in the ears of our people. We've witnessed so many lies after lies after lies over and over again that's been rehearsed. And now so many of us are addicted to the lie. Struggling to get rid of that lie, to walk away, to sever that tie, to cut the strings to that lie. So how liars are create the illusion of truth. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes the truth. Is a law of propaganda often attributed to the Nazis Joseph Goebbels. Among psychologists, something like this known as the illusion of truth. So repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. It's also known as the illusion of truth. So they give you an example of it. It says here, here's how a typical experiment on the effect works. So this is the experiment, right? Participants rate how true trivia items are. Things like a prune is a dried plum. Sometimes these items are true, like that one. In other words, we know that a prune is a dried plum. But sometimes participants see a parallel version. Well, what is the parallel version? A parallel version which isn't true. Something like a date is a dried plum. Now, if you guys familiar with dates, right? They look just like a prune. They look almost like a prune, especially when you allow them to completely dry out. But a date does not come from a plum. You have palm dates, like the palm trees. This is a fruit over in the Near East. But it's using an example that many would embrace that lie. I mean, because when you think about a date, it looks like a plum. And some have actually regurgitated this lie. Or should I say, I won't say lie, but misunderstanding. But again, that's what this article is really conveying is, especially when we deal with propaganda, we're dealing with media. Repeat the same lie over and over again until it becomes the truth, as we see here. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes the truth. So Genesis 9:27 is what I want to start with. And I know you guys heard me quote this, the scripture in a number of my teachings. And I know you guys have read this, but I just wanted to kind of use Genesis 9:27 and tie this in with to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Just kind of really get my, bring this point in. All right. So let's go to Genesis 9:27. It says, Elohim shall enlarge Pathah, or Path, but Pathah, Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Now, when we look at this on the surface, it appears that Yahweh is blessing Japheth. But the question is this a passage stating that the Most High is blessing Japheth? Did Yahweh bless Japheth? What does the text actually mean? Because on the surface, you just think that, hey, he's enlarging his occupancy, the territories. But let's add another thought to it. Let's go to the actual word pathah and let's see what it means, an in-depth definition of the word. Right? We see to open, roomy, but notice this here, to be simple or in a sinister way, delude. That's key, family. When we see this Hebrew word pathah, and we look at, excuse me, let me turn this air off. I've got this air blowing right over in my face here, and it's drying my throat out. But when we think about this here and we look at the context, and I'm going to give another passage to kind of give more clarity to what 9 verse 27 is telling us. But it says here, to be simple, or in a sinister way, delude, allure, deceive, enlarge, what we see, entice, persuade, silly one. Because when you think about what Paul warned about, right? Silly women being led astray. Well, silly ones be people that are, or women that are young-minded, but also naive, as you see here, naive. But in this context, we see deceive, enlarge, entice. We see delude, right? So when we think about this passage, right, we can kind of see that this is more of a perspective of deception. This is deception. Japheth, deceiving, enticing, delude. Remember when we talked about, touched on the four beasts, and that fourth beast having the gift or the attributes of manipulation, altering. That's where we taught on the word diverse, Shaddai. So let me ask you some additional questions here. Let's bring this home. Let's bring this together, because I'm going to tie this together so that way we get a better understanding of the passage that I just read. So based on the history of the descendants of Japheth and other texts, there's more to the Genesis 9:27 on what we see, or what we read, the transliteration of it, right? There's more to it. And I know many of you guys already know, but I want to just kind of shed some light for those that may not know when you see that word large. So the descendants of Japheth, right? They afflicted the ancient Israelites with warships. And that's still tying into the passage. Let me say that again. The descendants of Japheth afflicted the ancient Israelites with warships. Let's go to the scriptures and prove this. Numbers chapter 24. Let's start at actually, we're just going to go to verse 24. It says this, and ships shall come from the coast of Chittim. This is a descendant of Japheth, Chittim, Kath-yam, and shall afflict Ashur, and shall afflict Eber. And he also shall perish forever. So when we think about those ships, I know that we've been programmed to look at the transatlantic world war as a slave trade and view those ships as slave ships, but those slave ships were actually warships. We got to change our perspective. See, manipulation, right? Going back to that beast, that fourth beast, good with what? Manipulation, altering and changing things. All right. So think about that. Think about that. So let's go ahead and continue to delve into this, do a deeper dive with this. So the descendants of Japheth enslaved the ancient Israelites. Let me say that again. Not only, and we know that descendants of Ham have enslaved us, but we have to really talk about the descendants of Japheth as well. Still tying into Genesis 9, verse 27. The descendants of Japheth enslaved ancient Israelites. And here's the key prophecy that actually lines up with what I just stated. Joel chapter 3, 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. Yawan, or Yan, but Yawan in ancient Hebrew, that ye might remove them far from their borders. So the Grecians are still descendants of who? Japheth. And I encourage you guys, go watch the lesson, Magog, that I did a couple of weeks ago. And I identify and I prove with scripture that Japheth is the son of perdition. So we see here, right? It's pointing out the Grecians. We're dealing with the Grecians that have sold the Israelites into slavery. Also, right, the descendants of Japheth throughout history, right? There's and I'm going to highlight one of the descendants of them, of Japheth. Descendants of Japheth throughout history were known for their savagery. We're known for their savagery, right? That buzzword that we see today. Have you guys heard that buzzword that we're hearing today about, the names and the things that are describing that we see through propaganda about describing the Palestinians? They're described as savages. They're described as barbarians. Doesn't that sound familiar? We were described as that, as a people, by the Roman Catholic Church, by the Christian Church, by Judaism, by Islam. They all describe us as being barbarians, savages. And what did we do wrong? Nothing. They brought it to us. So the descendants of Japheth throughout history were known for their savagery. Well, let me just give you a little proof here. This is coming from the Anchor Bible Dictionary, volume 5, the Scythians. Notice what it says about the Scythians. It says here, biblical scholars sometimes associate the Scythians with Ashkenaz. Wait a minute, that's the descendant of Gomer, right? Ashkenaz makes you think about, when you hear that word Ashkenaz, really makes you think about this particular Jewish scholar. Makes you think about what he said about Ashkenaz.
So, a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now immigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Japhet is a myth, 100% false.
So biblical scholars sometimes associate the Scythians with Ashkenaz, and we can deal with some of the older historians as well in other cultures, identify who Ashkenaz is and tie them with together with the Scythians. But nevertheless, and also they also bear witness on their behavior. So biblical scholars sometimes associate the Scythians with Ashkenaz and with the bringers of destruction in the prophecies of Jeremiah and Zephaniah. Outside the Hebrew Bible, their reputation for savagery is alluded to in 2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 47, and it gives some other input biblical passages as well. And it goes on to say the Scythians, called Ashguzai by the Assyrians, apparently it first appears in written history in the annals of Asar, excuse me if I messed this up here, Asar Hadan, excuse me for butchering the name, Asar Hadan, and seemed to be centered at that time in what is today northwest Iran. And Herodotus speaks on this as well. But nevertheless, the point that I want to really bring out is this here. Ashkenaz, right? Bringers of destruction, right? Also had a reputation for savagery, right? And it tells us Scythians ruled over all the Near East for 28 years after entering the area from the north. It goes on to tell us the Scythians continue to be mentioned in texts of the Babylonians, Persians, Greeks as allies and as enemies throughout the 4th century. Scythians' presence in the Near East is restricted to Crimea. All right, so we know that when we deal with the Scythians, we're dealing with Russians. We're dealing with what's that other? Ukraine. And as you see, Crimea, that's all Russian territory. Germany was part of that. So the Scythians occupied what's called modern day Russia, Ukraine. We could also throw Germany and other territories up there. It was a huge, it's a very large territory, piece of or area that they occupied. So there's another group of Russians who are connected to the Russians, connected to the Ukrainians, connected to the Polish, connected to Hungary, connected to Germany. There's another group. They are called the Khazars or Khazars, right? The Jewish Encyclopedia in 1905 revealed that the main stock of the Jews came from this people, the Jewish people, that Israel over there, came from this people known as the Khazars or Khazars, however you want to pronounce it. It says here, a people of Turkish origin whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginning of the history of the Jews of Russia. So it's interesting when we deal with Turkish or Turkey, then you start understanding that when we deal with the modern Arabs, they are Turkish people. When we're dealing with the Ashkenazis, Turkish people. Still pointing to Russia, but notice what it says here. The kingdom of the Khazars was firmly established in most of South Russia long before the foundation of the Russian monarchy. All right, so it goes on to say historical evidence, or matter of fact, it tells us the areas as far as the waters, Black and Caspian seas, but it also goes on to say historical evidence point to the region of the Ural as the home of the Khazars. Among the classical writers of the Middle Ages, they were known as Khazars or Khazirs, Akatzir, and we see Akatirs. And in Russia, in the Russian chronicles, give some additional information. Not going to go too far with that. So we see that some of the characteristics of some of Japheth's descendants were savagery. They were brutal. We see that they enslaved our people. We see that they had warships. We could go right down the list. But let's go ahead and bring this home with 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, starting at verse 6. Notice what it says. Now, I've covered this earlier as far as the first part of this dealing with the son of perdition, but we're just going to pick up at verse 5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. So Paul has had this conversation a number of times. And that's why he's saying this, that he told the people, this assembly, of these things. And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in this time. And family, when we start dealing with the Antichrist, when we start dealing with the son of perdition, we have to let go of the Eurocentric mindset of how we've been taught, because we've been taught to include the very people that have oppressed us. They deceived us to including them on this side of the Jordan. So Paul is dealing with anti-Messiah, anti-anointed, anti-Christ, anti-Israel, anti-Yahweh, anti everything that the Most High has designated and set aside as being holy. So we have to remove the thoughts of, like how Left Behind, Nicholich, whatever his name was in there, how they had that person being the son of perdition, one person. No, that's not son of perdition. We identified as being Japheth, but when we look at his descendants and look at the kingdoms, look at the belief systems, then you'll understand the Antichrist is not what your westernized theology based upon their understanding on the scriptures. That's not what it is. It's far deeper than that, and it's more to it than that. So, and now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Adonai shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose comings is after the working of Satan, Hashatan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. I'm not going to break down each one of these because I'm keeping it brief for tonight, but we're going to revisit this weekend. Verse 10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Verse 11, for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, tying into Genesis chapter 9, verse 27. This is for those that have fallen away, right? Remember, as we read the back here, when it talks about the apostasy, right? It says here, let me see here. Oh, see, I got this text in the background, but it says, let no man deceive you by any means, for except there coming a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So we know that there's going to be a falling away in conjunction with this great awakening. We know that this is all part of that spirit of that son of perdition, that anti-Yahweh, that anti-Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, that anti the spirit of Yah, that anti-Israelite, the anti-chosen people of the Most High. We see the anti-chosen. You have the chosen and you have the anti-chosen. Come on, family. You have the chosen people and you have the anti-chosen. I know that sounds like I'm making up a phrase, right? Anti-chosen. I may have to put a patent on that, right? Anti-chosen, because we focus solely on antichrist, but anti or Christ or Messiah means anointed. Chosen, right? But anointed. Yah's people are what? The chosen people that the Most High anointed. There's an anti-chosen people that hide up under descriptions of church, religion. We're going to deal with a few things, right? We're going to deal with a couple of things here. So it says here that the Most High sent that because so many keep rejecting the truth. So he's allowing that delusion to come, that they should believe a lie. This is not for the people that's receiving the truth. This is for those that continue to reject the things of the Most High. Verse 12, that they all might be damned who believeth or believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Oh man, I mean, the church is up. I mean, they are in a very peculiar situation, especially what you hear about or hear the things that are being stated. I didn't put the clips here, but you guys saw the video of what Dr. Mike Brown what he said, calling out the Christian church. They're in a very peculiar position, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth. What's the truth? That we are the people of the book, but because of religion, because of their agenda, so many of our brothers and sisters are caught up in that lie. Caught up in that lie, family. So what is the mystery of iniquity? Because it pointed out, it said the mystery of iniquity. First, we're just going to deal with mystery from the Greek perspective. Let's see what mystery means in the Greek, right? It says a secret or mystery. But the key, it says, through the idea of silence imposed by initiation into religious rites. That is powerful. That is, make a note of that, family. If you are not making a note, if you're not writing it or typing it in, make a note of this right here. Mystery, right? We're dealing with the mystery. We're dealing with this right here. The question here, right? What is, in other words, the mystery of iniquity? So we're dealing with mystery of iniquity that Paul writes here. Mystery of iniquity. So we just define mystery to you. And again, secret or mystery, but it says the idea of silence imposed by initiation into religious rites. And then when we look at the Greek word for iniquity and the definition of it, it says violation of law, wickedness, transgression of what? The law, violation of the law. So this is giving us an idea of who the anti is. The anti-anointed, the anti-Messiah, the anti-Christ, the anti-the Father, the anti-the Son, the anti-the Holy Spirit, the anti-Israel, the anti-ancient Israelites. I want to give a special shout outs here to Bethia. And I know I keep messing up her name. My apologies, Elder. Bethia. I believe that's the proper way. I know you told me that before, but I want to say thank you for the love and support, family. Let's give Bethia a shout out here. I really appreciate it for the love and support. Also, let's give a shout out to Veronica Brown. Thank you for the love and support, for the super sticker. And again, Apostle Curtis, thank you for the love and support. I really appreciate you guys for the contributions tonight. So again, Bithia Batya Yisrael, let's give some love, show some love to her. And again, as we also show love for, let's see here, Sister Veronica Brown, and also my buddy here, Apostle Curtis, Curtis Lewis. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love and thank you for the support. All right. So, family, so the mysteries of iniquity. So that is the key, family. I know it sounds like Cynthia, right? Bithia, Cynthia, right? I got it right there. I got it right after I corrected myself. I know I keep wanting to say Bethia, but Bithia. Okay. All right. Appreciate it, sis. Thank you again. Thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate it. All right. So these are nuggets here, because when we understand, the key is mysteries, and we see initiation, we can also use the term conversion. We also see iniquities. In other words, violating the laws, statutes, and commandments. So the question is, what systems are out there that's going against the laws, statutes, and commandments? What systems that have basically an initiation, so to speak, they disguise it as calling it conversions? What are some of the systems that are out there? Remember, 666 is the system of man. All right. So what is the mystery? What is the mystery of iniquity? What is that? See, the mystery of iniquity is religion, family. Let me say that again. The mystery of iniquity is these religious systems. These religious systems that have hoodwinked, that have deceived so many people, again, creating these lies. Tell that lie over and over again until it becomes true. That's what we see about the people that have hijacked an identity. This is what we see about the wars that are going on right now. This is what we see in the so-called church. Well, I'm not going to say so-called church, the church today. These are all religious systems, but they all are part of the mystery of iniquity, because all of them are bending and twisting the law, statutes of commandments of the Most High. So that tells you, family, that when we deal with anti-Messiah, we're not just, when we say son of perdition, we're not just dealing with one individual. We're dealing with an entire offspring. We're dealing with the system of man, which is the religious systems that the son of perdition have created, with the sole purpose of undermining the true Israelites. So Judaism, the mystery of iniquity is Judaism. Now, you guys remember this. I could go deeper on this, but I'm not going to keep it simple for tonight. Guys, I encourage you to go back over the last 3 or 4 lessons that I did, and we really went geek mode. So the law return, right, defines the requirements of who is a Jew. Now, notice what this says here. A person born of a Jewish mother or has become converted to Judaism, and who is not a member of another religion. So you cannot be part of another religion. So how does this work? You convert over by way of a religious system, Judaism, right? So that first generation, you're converts, right? That second generation, through that, now you're dealing with the woman, the mother of that first generation. Now, those that come afterwards, now they will no longer deal with the side of the religion. They'll be born to a Jewish mother. To be an Israelite, you simply have to be born into it by way of the man. So this right here, when we start really looking at this construct, Jewish, is similar to the word Christianity. Converting to what? A religion to take on a name. Think about that, family. So with this here, we see to be a Jew, you have to convert to Judaism, be descendant of a Jewish mother or converted to Judaism, and also not practicing any other religion. So the religion of Judaism is one of the religions of the son of perdition. Let me say that again. The religion of Judaism is one of the religions of the son of perdition, Japheth. So what does the religious writing of Judaism say about the Messiah? You guys know this, but I'm going to repeat this again, right? I want to fast forward here because they talk about them hanging him because saying that he was a mesite, in other words, an enticer, right? They also say that he was connected to the government, basically, saying that he was all about the government. He was loyal and very heavily influenced by the government, right? An agent, as you see here, for he was connected with the government. They say that he had 5 disciples and how they executed them. They also talk about Miriam as being a prostitute, playing the harlot, as you see here, played the harlot with carpenters. They also refer to the Messiah as being Balaam. right? And this is just the footnotes of that same text, Sanhedrin 106a, right? But then they also say that he was raised from the dead by way of necromancy, right? That same way how Samuel was raised from the dead. They're saying that necromancy through spells and witchcraft. This is coming from Gideon 57a. This is what it says. Anchleos then went and raised Jesus the Nazarene from the grave through necromancy. So we see the witchcraft. They are literally profaning the Messiah, literally. Then they say that he's boiling in hell. He's in hell boiling in feces. Same book of the Talmud, within the Talmud. It says, notice what it says. Jesus said to him, he is punished with boiling excrements. That's feces. As the master said, anyone who mocks the word of the sages will be sentenced to boiling excrements. All right. So also the mystery of iniquity is Catholicism. So we already know the Talmud. We done proved it over and over again, because I know many of our brothers and sisters that are in this awakening just want to focus on Christianity and Catholicism, but don't touch on Islam, does not touch on, Judaism. No, all these religious systems are the systems of the son of perdition, which is ultimately anti-Messiah, anti-Christ, anti-Yahweh, the Father, anti-Father, anti-Son, anti-Holy Spirit, anti-chosen people of Yah. So real quick, we see the mystery of iniquity, right? Bending and twisting, but they had conversion processes, just like we saw with Judaism, Catholicism, Christianity. Because guess what? Catholicism and Christianity was hand in hand as they enslaved our people. You guys remember this, the converse catechisms of Catholic doctrine took the Most High's day of holy day, the Shabbat, and they tricked so many people, deceived. Matter of fact, from what I understand, the Catholic Church is like over 1 billion people. So deceived well over 1 billion people, in which many of them are blood descendants of Israel, our people, to embrace Sunday worship and denounce Shabbat. Right? And we know that, we know that Exodus chapter 34 tells us that the Shabbats, they are signs, proof, and evidence. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. So we see here in their catechisms, holy days of devotion, feast days, which we are recommended to keep, holy days of obligation, days which we must keep as Sundays. So they look at the feast days as recommendations, right? You recommend it. You don't have to, but we're recommending that you do. So they don't honor the feast days. They honor their own man-made feast days. Holy days of obligation. They say the holy day of obligation is Sunday. The word Shabbat means celebrate, not just rest, but celebrate. And they lied completely to all, repeating the same lie over and over again, that Christ was resurrected. His resurrection occurred on the first day of the week, which is that Sunday, which is an absolute lie. But so many are embracing that. Can't get away from it. Cannot get away from it. All right. Let me correct this slide here. I didn't catch this. Let me take some of this out real quick. So family, I'm just touching on a little bit. I'm not going to go too deep. I'm just want to touch on a few things. Not going to go too deep with this. because it's, I don't want to keep you guys up too late, but I did want to do a quick lesson here. Just a little bit of what I covered this past weekend. All right, let me let that thing rotate here. All right, let me fix that here. All right. We also see the Shabbat, right? They're literally telling you, even though they say the third commandment, that's a whole nother discussion. It's actually the fourth commandment. But it said the third commandment is, remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day. But then they ask the questions like a Q&A. This is catechisms. Which is this Sabbath day? Saturday is the Sabbath day. Why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? We observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church and the Council of Laodicea transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. In a nutshell, they're saying that they changed it. They changed it. They changed the Shabbat. They don't have the power to do it, but they changed it. All right, let's fast forward. I don't want to go too deep in here. All right. Last point I'll make here. They say, why did the Catholic Church substitute Sunday for Saturday? The church substituted Sunday for Saturday because Christ rose from the dead on a Sunday, absolute lie, and the Holy Ghost descended upon the apostles on a Sunday. So think about it, family. They're dealing with the Day of Pentecost. The Day of Pentecost occurred 50 days after, right? Which would mean that this is a contradiction. 50 days will not land you on Sunday. Only way you can have a Pentecost Sunday, because historians will tell you Pentecost, the Day of Pentecost concluded, the Feast of Weeks concluded on the first day of the week. It was not a second day of the week, the first day of the week. So you backdate that 50 days, it's going to land right squarely on Shabbat. Anyway. All right. So it says here, by what authority? The church substituted Sunday for Saturday by the plenitude of the divine power which Jesus Christ bestowed upon her. There's not a single passage that says that the Messiah gave them the power to change the law, statutes, and commandments. There's not a single passage. The Most High told Israel not to change it, right? He said to his disciples, think not that I come to change the law, to do away with the law and the prophets. He said, I didn't come to destroy, I come to fulfill. So the initial followers of the Messiah were Israelites. They were not Jews, they were Israelites. They were not Christians, they were Israelites. They were not practicing Christianity. They were not Catholics. They were not Muslims. They were Israelites, ancient Israelites. None of them. There's not a single passage that says that the Messiah gave them authority to change the law, statutes, and commandments, because if he did, that's breaking Torah. All right. So according to the Catholic Church, the commandment for the Shabbat written in the covenant hinders Sunday worship. And I want to say this, Catholicism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they declared war on the true descendants of the ancient Israelites. And you guys remember this. I'm just going to highlight this real quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I bring this up almost every time I teach, because I'm trying to reinforce this so much that you guys memorize this and get this, download this, and that way you can understand that it was not a transatlantic slave trade. It was a world war. To understand, we had to stop saying slave ships and say what? Warships. Papal grants to the kings of Portugal, given authority to enslave the Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at war. So there was a war, family. It's right here. It's right here. And matter of fact, I'm going to zoom it in. It's right here. Christendom is at war, 1452 to 1514. It's right here. So let me fast forward. Notice what it says here. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa. Whereas the Portuguese were well aware the local Negro inhabitants. So, and it goes on to say, were not Saracens, they were not Muslims, and not enemies of Christendom. So they knew who they were targeting. But again, applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. So why are we still regurgitating the lie? Let's go back to the beginning here. We'll go back up here. Let's go back to the beginning here for those that have joined late. Why are we keep going back to this article right here? Where is it? Let's go back here. Thought I just had it here. See. It's getting kind of late, but let's go back here. Right? How liars create the illusion of truth. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes the truth. Dirty dime, shiny nickel. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes the truth. And for those that are just joining us late, we're dealing with the big lie. The big lie. All right, let's go back here. Let's go back here. Let's go back to here. Okay. All right. I highlighted this here. So, like Judaism, Catholicism, and Christianity forced the descendants of the ancient Israelites to go through a conversion. And right now, Judaism, whether they call themselves Messianic Jews or non-Messianic Jews, Hasidic Jews, whatever the case may be, these guys are going to our community, to different tribes in Africa that they know are blood descendants of ancient Israel. They are trying to convert them over to Judaism, denounce their ancient Israelite heritage, and embrace a man-made heritage that was created through religion, which allows them to have the authority over us.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes, and I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
So just that short clip, family, encompasses their agenda. This right here, and I encourage you guys, screenshot it, rip it from this video. I don't care. I'm not caught up like that. Take this clip, share it with those that you are witnessing to. Let them hear exactly what was said. So there's a difference between being an ancient Israelite and being a Jew, because they're not the same. Jew is synonymous to Christian, the word Christian. But it's from a Jew, from Judaism. And Judaism is not an ancient word. They weren't practicing Judaism. So like Judaism, Catholicism, and Christianity forced the descendants of the ancient Israelites to go through a conversion. Let's prove it real quick, wrapping this up, right? This is coming from Professor Michael Brown. Yeah, this is coming from Professor Brown, right? This is coming from this guy right here. This is coming from his book. And actually, it has some great information in it because I've been teaching out this book for years, right? But this is Professor Brown.
So, a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now immigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else. It was shortened from a Russian name when my grandfather came over at Ellis Island. The name got shortened to Brown. It's just a name. That's all it is. So the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from Japhet is a myth, 100% false.
All right, so this is coming from a book that he wrote, Our Hands Are Stained with Blood, right, by Michael L. Brown. The Inquisition isn't over. All this is common knowledge, but how many of us know that there was one particular heresy the Spanish Inquisition sought to uncover and destroy? There was a witch hunt against baptized Jews who maintained any vestige of Jewishness. These Catholic Jews, called Marranos, Conversos, or New Christians, violently forced to convert in the first place, were carefully watched to see if they were practicing heresy. Heretical practices include failure to eat pork, failure to work on Saturday, failure to wear one's best clothes on Sunday, keeping the biblical feasts, observing any Jewish customs of any kind, saying any Jewish prayers, preparing food according to Jewish laws. We know Jewish is not biblical, it's not ancient. Anyway, associating with non-baptized Jews, intermarrying of children of Marrano families with children of other Marrano families. So baptized Jews were wavered, but when they wanted to be reconciled to the church, were subjected to an act of penance called the vergüenza, in other words, shame. They were paraded through the streets, men and women alike, bareheaded, footed, and naked to the waist. So even if they voluntarily did this, they still had to go through a conversion process of humiliation. This is kind of where you get into the humiliation ritual. They created it. So what is the act of penance called the vergüenza? This is still their source. The many forms of penance in Christian life. The process of conversion and repentance was described by Jesus in the parable of the prodigal son. This is their doctrine to justify this conversion. The center of which is the merciful Father, the fascinating of illusory freedom, the abandonment of the Father's house, the extreme misery which the Son finds himself after squandering his fortunes, his deep humiliation at finding himself obliged to feed swine, and still worse, at wanting to feed on the husk of the pigs ate. His reflection on all he has lost, his repentance and decision to declare himself guilty before his Father, the journey back, the Father's generous welcome, the Father's joy. So this is saying in a nutshell, family, right, that this conversion process is based off of the story of the prodigal son. Notice what it says. The beautiful robe, the ring, the festive banquet are symbols of that new life. So they give him these foreign garments, right? The regalias that we see, the Catholic regalia. They give him a ring. This is all part of identity. Remember, shepherds, they had a staff, they had rings and bracelets, right? That's how that was the identity of a shepherd. But now the Catholic Church, Christianity, are giving their own, right, a replacement. You see it here. And what I'm reading here is in the backdrop here. Right? This is coming from their source. This is what I'm reading here. All right. Okay, so were they actually Negroes? Were these people actually Negroes? You guys know this. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. We could go there and identify the Negroes, but again, this is where we have to be careful of that term Sephardic, because you'll be led to believe that all the Sephardic were dark melanated people. I'm not dealing with Sephardic, Spanish Jews. That's when they call it Spanish Jews, but that word is a political word that was created and is still very deceptive. There was no Caucasians enslaved here in this country. Caucasian Jews. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. So the accumulated experience of over 100 years of travel, trade, and conquest had convinced Europeans that some of the accepted stereotypes of Jews, or should I say Jewish racial otherness, including the beliefs that Jews were black, needed to be qualified. When William Brereton jotted down his impressions of the Jews in the synagogue of Amsterdam in 1635, he noted that the Jewish men are most black and insatiably given unto women, drawing here on contemporary prejudices linking blackness to licentiousness, right? So dealing with the stereotypes we deal with today. But it's making it clear, notice what it says here. Brereton jotted down his impressions of the Jews in the synagogue in Amsterdam in 1635. He noted that the Jewish men are most black. Didn't say that they were Caucasians, making it clear that they look like you and I. Then it goes on to say in 1690, later on, years later, right? We're dealing with about 55 years later. And when the Scottish minister Robert Kirk toured London in January 1690, he also paid a visit to the synagogue there, where he observed over 200 Jews worshiping. He noted in his journal that they were all very black men and distinct in their reasoning as gypsies. So they're making it clear that they all were black. Didn't say that they were Caucasians or had light features. They didn't say that. They were all dark melanated people. All right. But it's a point that I want to get here because I want to read all of this. But it says a vulgar error that the Jews are all black, right? Because he had to address that there, because it says here, this person, Maximilian Mission, New York voyage to Italy, makes it clear that it is a vulgar error that the Jews are all black. So someone was trying to challenge that, right? So that's why it's stating here that this person, Maximilian, didn't agree with that. All Jews are black, right? But it goes on to say here, the mission observes it's only true of the Portuguese Jews. So what they're saying that, okay, all right, it's not true that all the Jews were black, but they are saying that the Portuguese Jews were black. It says it's only true of the Portuguese Jews, who marrying always among one another beget children like themselves. So it's saying that only the Portuguese Jews were completely all black. Even though we have others that are, we just pointed out in London, black Jews, but this person is saying only the Portuguese Jews are 100% all black. In other words, Negro. So this right here shuts it down when we're dealing with what? The Portuguese, the Spanish Inquisition, right? When we start dealing with the Portuguese, right? Because the Spanish Inquisition, that's when they began to send us, right, to other places of Africa. But it says here, it's only true of the Portuguese Jews, whose marrying always among one another beget children like themselves. Consequently, the swarthiness of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in the northern regions. But the Jews who are originally of Germany, those, for example, I have seen in Prague, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. So it's saying out of all these Jewish communities, so to speak, the German Jews are the ones that are not like, it says, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. Is that a coincidence? Because remember, we're dealing with, when we say Germany, we're dealing with Ashkenazi Jews. And remember what Dr. Brown literally said here, messing up with the history. Remember what he said about the Ashkenazi Jews.
So a little over 1,000 years ago, as Jewish people scattered around the world had now immigrated in Europe and now were living in the Rhineland in Germany, they looked at the name Gomer in Genesis 10, and they connected Gomer with Germany, so they took on the identity of the name Ashkenaz. It has nothing to do with Ashkenaz in the Bible, which is a descendant of Japhet. It's just a name that was taken. Okay, it's that simple. Just like my last name Brown doesn't refer to the color of my skin or anything else, it was shortened from a...
All right, I'm just stopping out. Just don't feel like hearing his voice right now over and over again. So you heard in his own words. They know that. They know the truth, family. But keep saying the same lie over and over again, people will believe it that it's true. All right. Let me see. What else do I want to highlight here? I don't want to highlight all this because it's getting kind of late. All right. Let me see here. All right. We'll touch on some of this later on this week because I'm getting kind of sleepy here. I had a long weekend. But this is what I do want to highlight about what he says in this book about religion. Right? The mystery of iniquity. Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, Islam. Contemporary scholars have traced the origins of modern racism and nationalism back to the 16th century, a time when European nations were coming into contact on an unprecedented scale with other people. Indeed, they are quick to point that the words themselves, race as well as nation, only began to acquire their current meaning at this time. Much of this research is flawed, however, by its secular bias. It has been remarkably slow to acknowledge the extent to which theology shaped the way people thought about both racial and national difference in early modern times. As a result, this scholarship has necessarily ignored the place of the Jew in the formation of early modern European ideas about race and nation, despite the fact that so much theorizing about these topics in the 16th and 17th century or centuries were produced in response to theoretical problems posed by the Jews. So this is telling you, family, it's religion that caused the foolishness that we see today. It is religion that came up with this and helped perpetuate this lie, this big lie, this big deception of saying that the people that we see today are the people of the book. They began to come up with all these different theologies, all these different lies, because I don't like to just say theology because it's just a glorified term for saying Christian, Catholic, Jewish philosophies to hijack an identity that belonged to us, our identity. Now have us on the outside looking in, have so many people within our community thinking that or believing that they're not the people of the book. In other words, we're not the people of the book. So this gives you a window. 16th, right? As you see here, the 16th centuries. And when we get here, it says what I just highlighted it here. 16th and 17th centuries, that this is where you start seeing the development, when we start dealing with the institution of race, because this is around the time when the institution of race was created, the stereotypes, to be able to come up with 5 classes, right? They use the institution of race to further push their agenda. Anyway. All right. And I'm going to put this book, I'm going to post this book, information of this book inside the chat as we get ready to wrap up. And we'll continue this. We'll pick up on this later this week. Let me copy this book. Right. This is the page that it's coming from. And I encourage you guys to purchase this book. All right. So again, there was no, this is one of the things that we hear. There was no Negro Israelites on the warships. I'm sure you guys heard that before. There was no Negro Israelites on the warships. But in this map, right? In this map, and I'm not going to go into it tonight. We'll go back over it again. But in this map, you'll see the route. This is before this Suez Canal that man-made canal was created. See, prior to that, this is the path. If you want to, let's just say any of these European countries want to do any trade here to, let's just say over here, they had to go all the way around Africa in order to do so. That Suez Canal allowed, a shortcut, so to speak. But as you can see here, there's no reference to that Suez Canal. You'll see a break here, but you don't. But notice what you see here. You see Hebreos or Hebreas right here, right? This is basically in a nutshell telling us that King Solomon, soldiers and all, they made, this is their route in scripture to back it up. This is Sao Tome right here, this island that will be a place of a rest stop. This is a port here. This is the Gold Coast right here, the Slave Coast. All right. I want to stop right here because I know it's really late. I'm not going to go long tonight. You guys know I get it in. I will really go geek mode, but I'm not going to do that tonight. But I did want to just have a brief listen with you guys dealing with the big lie. And I'm sure you guys many of you guys didn't hear this or probably didn't see this before. This map right here. Right. But you see here, you do not see the Suez Canal. And all of this is Africa right here. Guess what? This is Egypt right now. Egypt is what? Africa. Right. And we know this is the territory also of Israel. All on the same tectonic plate as Africa. Northeast Africa is actually the Middle East is actually Northeast Africa. All right. This whole territory still. Anyway, I'll leave that alone. But again, let me go down here. You see here, Hebreus. That is Hebrew. That is the word for Hebrew. All right. And this is just a little bit of the map. Ophir, you'll see right inside the scriptures. All right. So we'll stop right here, family. Let me go ahead and just do it like this before I highlight any more from these slides. You know how it goes. If I keep sliding, going to the next slide and bringing up slides, before you know it, it'll be another hour. So I'm not going to do that tonight, but we'll cover this. I'll post the live, the scheduled lives, so that way you guys can make a note of that. I'm looking to going out to South Carolina probably Tuesday to do some recording out there. So I'm working on part 3 of the road to Savannah. So look forward to seeing my buddy Godfrey out there. If you're in the South Carolina area, look up Godfrey, Gullah Geechee Tours. Let's support our brother that is out there, that is pushing, really pushing hard, pressing to get this truth out to all our people. All right. So with that being said, let me go ahead and look here, see if there was any more contributions that I may have missed. Let me go ahead and catch it real quick. I want to say, Michael, I want to say thank you for the love and support. God bless you richly, Pastor Kelly. Thank you for your work. Really appreciate it for the love and support. Family, let's show Brother Michael love and support. Thank you again, my brother. Also want to thank Miss Valerie Montgomery. Thank you for the love and support. Also, Bithia, want to thank you. Bithia Batya Israel, thank you for the love and support. Tawadah to you as well. Really appreciate you. Sister Veronica, likewise, thank you for the love and support. And of course, Apostle, want to thank you, Apostle Curtis Lewis. Thank you as well for the love and support. With that being said, family, in the words of Moses, well, actually the words of the Most High that he gave to Moses based off of Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will never have power over you ever again. You will not have to see them ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. In other words, be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.